For years, we've been promised the moon with AI. But what happens when that rocket of hype finally meets the cold, hard gravity of reality? Well, top experts at Stanford University are predicting a major reckoning for AI is coming in 2026. And we're going to break down exactly what that means.
You know, this one quote from Stanford's Institute for Human-Centered AI, it pretty much says it all. The time for just believing in AI's potential, that's over. Now it's all about proving it. 2026 is the year AI has to show its work, deliver on its promises, and really demonstrate some real measurable value.
And this slide right here just nails that shift in thinking. The whole conversation has grown up. We've moved way past the simple magic trick of asking, hey, can AI do this? Because honestly, we know it can do a lot. The questions now are so much tougher, so much more practical. How well does it actually work out in the real world? What's the true cost? Not just in dollars, but maybe in jobs or potential risks. And this one's crucial. Who really benefits from all of this technology?
So, answering those tough questions, it all starts with the bottom line. This new demand for proof is really shaking up the world of business and economics, where it all comes down to one thing: return on investment.
Now, what's really fascinating here is this idea from economist Eric Brynjolfsson. He's predicting we're going to move beyond these vague arguments and actually start building what he calls AI economic dashboards. You can think of it like a real-time report card for AI's impact on the entire economy.
So, what would this dashboard even show us? We're talking about high-frequency data, stuff that's updated monthly, not years after the fact. It would track exactly where AI is boosting productivity, for sure, but also where it's displacing workers or even driving down wages. And this isn't just for academics. It's about getting the hard facts to guide really important decisions, like where we should fund job retraining programs or how we manage these big economic shifts. And look, this demand for results isn't just in economics. Take the legal world. According to law professor Julian Yarko, law firms are no longer impressed that an AI can write a first draft. Nope. They need to know its error rate, its actual efficiency gains in a real workflow, and whether it can handle complex reasoning across a ton of different documents. The standard is getting much, much higher.
Okay, so this all sounds like a pretty high-pressure performance review for AI, right? And, with any performance review, not everything is going to get top marks. So what happens when these massive investments just don't pay off?
Exactly. James Lando, who's a co-director at Stanford's HAI, he predicts that 2026 will be the year we start talking openly about AI's failures. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a huge sign of maturity. By learning from what doesn't work, we can finally figure out where AI can be truly effective and move beyond this myth that it's some magic bullet for every single problem. Now, this focus on tangible results, it's not just happening inside of companies. If we zoom out to a global scale, AI is starting to run into some major technical and geopolitical hurdles.
A huge trend you're going to want to watch for is AI sovereignty. This is basically the idea that nations are saying, hey, wait a minute, we want control over our own AI destiny. They're getting pretty nervous about depending on just a few huge tech companies, mostly in the US, for a technology that's this critical.
And countries are really pursuing this in two main ways. On one hand, some are trying to build their own massive models completely from scratch, but others are taking a more practical route. They're licensing models from big companies, but insisting on running them on their own servers, inside their own borders, to keep all of their data safe and secure.
At the same time, all of this global expansion and investment, it's starting to raise some eyebrows. James Landay points out that you just can't tie up all the money in the world on one thing forever. It's starting to feel, in his words, like a bubble.
And he's not alone. Angel Christine echoes that exact sentiment. While she thinks the bubble might not pop spectacularly, she suggests its phase of just rapid, almost manic expansion could be coming to an end. A healthy dose of realism is finally setting in.
And this leads to a really hard technical limit. For years, the main strategy for making AI better has been pretty simple. Just feed it more and more data. But what happens when you've basically scraped the entire public internet? Well, experts believe we're getting close to peak data, a point where there's just not enough high-quality information left to keep training these enormous models. And that means future breakthroughs probably won't come from brute force, but from much smarter, more efficient techniques.
Okay, but it's not all about bubbles and limitations. In fact, this new era of intense evaluation is actually fueling some incredible breakthroughs in one of the most important fields there is: medicine.
This is a really exciting prediction from Dr. Curtis Langlotz. He believes that the same kind of AI that powers chatbots, it's known as self-supervised learning, is about to have its ChatGPT moment, but for medicine. So imagine an AI that can teach itself by studying millions of unlabeled medical scans and records, spotting patterns that a human might never see. This could lead to massive breakthroughs in diagnosing rare diseases and just improving accuracy for every.
But in science and medicine, getting the correct answer just isn't enough. As Russ Altman explains, you have to know how the model got there. Researchers are now focused on a kind of AI archaeology, digging into these neural networks to really understand their reasoning. It's all about turning a mysterious black box into a transparent tool we can actually use for discovery.
And this brings us right back to evaluation, but this time on the front lines. Hospitals are getting flooded by startups, all claiming to have the next great AI solution. So they're being forced to ask those same tough questions we talked about earlier. What's the real ROI here? Is this going to disrupt our doctors and nurses? And this one's critical. Was this tool even trained on a patient population that looks like ours? Rigorous vetting isn't optional anymore. It's absolutely essential.
So, all of this, the economic dashboards, the technical limits, the incredible medical breakthroughs, it all leads to one final really fundamental question.
Professor Di Yang just puts it perfectly. Now that AI is really moving out of the lab and into our daily lives, we have to pause and ask ourselves, what's the point of all this? Are we just trying to build faster, more efficient machines, or are we actually trying to build a better future for ourselves? 2026 is the year we've got to get serious about that answer. Think about it. Right now, a lot of AI is optimized for short-term metrics like user engagement. You know, how many clicks, how many minutes you spend staring at a screen. But this slide poses a critical choice. What if we aimed higher? What if we designed AI to explicitly measure and improve long-term human well-being, or to truly augment our own skills and our creativity, rather than just trying to replace them? That's the huge shift from a technical goal to a truly human.
And so, the real reckoning for AI in 2026 isn't just about profit or performance, it's about purpose. As we move from evangelism to evaluation, the ultimate test won't be what AI can do, but what it does for us. The final question isn't technical anymore, it's deeply human. How do we build AI that serves us all in the long run?